Good morning. Can you hear it now? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and everyone that's watching us on YouTube live stream. My name is Michael Rediger, and Tony was one of my best friends from the time I met him in junior high. And we are here to celebrate the life and love of comedy of Tony Lamendola. And we've gathered an intimate group because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and you're going to hear from some of his friends, a member of his family that's here representing, and they'll introduce themselves as we move forward. But today's about celebration and love and how we all felt about Tony. So with that, I will have our next person come up, and that is Tony's Aunt Jill.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Michael and Tina, for preparing all of this. He's missed, so we just have to, comically say, Tony, Tony, Tony. And so I just want to say that this is a pretty tough one for me because I had always hoped that Tony would bury me. And so I'm feeling a whole lot of sad and a little bit happy. Thanks for this opportunity to celebrate Tony's life and allow his kids to hear all the wonderful things he was to those who loved him, as he dearly loved each and every one of them. This is for Mitch, Megan, Mia, and Madison. 52 years young, life is too short. I'm Tony's Aunt Jill, or as he called me, Big J, or AJ. Kind of had a size issue. Teresa and Bob met when I was 5, married when I was 8, and Debbie was the first grandchild when I was 10. We have a big family, and many of them have their final resting spots right here. My husband and Matt and I have real estate right behind us, behind this wall. And so feel free, if the rain stops, to roam around and visit my grandparents, both parents, an infant sister, numerous aunts and uncles, cousins, plus Bob and Debbie. Tony gets to tease, share all eternity with Michelle right over there. My riling grandparents, Charles and Edith, had 9 children who, with many of their spouses, graduated from the University of Dayton, even during the Great Depression. A quality education was numero uno, as was the mantra to work hard and always do your best. I believe Tony followed that rule. They all served in World War II in one way or another. Out of the 34 grandchildren, I'm the youngest of 7 of Jack and Jane. My immediate family has just about doubled in size with every generation, and that's no thanks to me because Matt and I have no children but a dog. But I have 15 nieces and nephews and 29 great nieces and nephews. I love them all. My dad was delighted to hear of his first great-grandchild's coming before he passed, and Mitch arrived on his anniversary. God bless Karen and her kids who brought the memory walk photos for us to see up close, which were on our curbside gallery right here behind me. I was told that Tony handpicked many of them as he spent some of his lockdown quarantine time in the garage going through boxes and pitching and digitalizing everything. So Karen said this made it a whole lot easier for them to just use Tony's pictures that he had chosen. I hope you were able to see Tony's burial mass on YouTube in Arkansas, and I consider that Tony's religious send-off. Today is his celebration of his life. I could write a book about the many family events. To me, he was not only a lover of the arts, but a fellow lefty and had a heart of gold. Tony liked games. So do a little quick game word association. Pick a word or 3 that comes to your mind right away when I say the name Tony.
Cannoli.
You can either say it now out loud, or you can say it when you come up here to the mic, or you can keep it in your heart and keep that memory of Tony in your heart as well. My family had some words to say and help me out with this because this is a family reflection. The results were very interestingly alike, but three major categories emerged. Number one, Tony was the life of the party. First impressions presented an inviting, welcoming smile that you couldn't resist. He was quick to offer a drink and a chair. He was friendly, fun, contagiously happy, entertaining, loud like his dad, always joking, loved people, and gave big bear hugs. Category number two, Tony's Christian and Catholic faith was unyieldingly strong. He was so pleased when Karen converted before they married, and together they raised all four children in the church, attending parochial schools and events. Their parish priest, Father John, knew him well for their 15 years in Arkansas community and gave Tony the final blessings. The third and last major category may be of no surprise to anybody here, Tony's love of family. He was devoted to be a great dad as a coach, ambitious provider, a role model for his son, and gentle with his girls. In the photos behind me, you can see the proud papa look that Tony gave with each one of those kids. And I'll say them in this order: Madison, Mia, Megan, and Mitch, because I feel that last always has a real hard time to be recognized, always remember in order. But I do that probably because I was one of those. Fortunately, his idea of family didn't stop there, as all of us got to know and love Tony. Please go in peace and keep Tony and his family in your thoughts and prayers.
Good morning. My name's Eric Albers, a lifelong friend of Tony. It's going to be a little hard. For everything, there's a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. The word of the Lord.
Well, no, we can just kind of gather around so they can hear us.
Oh,
Do you want to start us? It's in here.
it is? In,
80, sorry. We're singing Amazing Grace.
oh,
It's in there.
it
It's
is
listed
in
right by the
there.
pictures.
Oh, okay. I didn't read it.
No, she doesn't have to do it on her own. We're all going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought maybe you could.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
Why don't you go bring the-
So we can hear your voice.
Okay.
You want to hold the microphone?
Nah, there'll be enough of us.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils, and and snares I have already found. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. The earth shall soon dissolve like snow. The sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will be forever mine. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've known less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
For those of you who don't know me, I am Tina McPherson, and I was fortunate enough to be one of Tony's teachers and then became his friend. But we all know we're gathered together today because somebody could not stay alive and had to be first. That's Tony. He loved to win. So I say send him off with a joke. Seriously, there are certain people in your life who come into your life and leave an impression forever. And one of those was Tony Lamendola. It's my privilege to not only have been one of Tony's high school teachers, but also one of his friends and part of the Lamendola family, because once you opened up the door and Bob offered you a beer at noon, you were part of the family. He was part of that special group of students that I have been so blessed to be part of their lives, who graduated from Trotwood, who went on to become wonderful, caring, and loving human beings, and we're still friends. Now, we all may have had our differences when it came to religion or politics or abortion or ... with Tony, but we could always rely on Tony to make us laugh. In Yiddish, we would have said Tony was a mensch. In Spanish, he was a, if I can get all this correctly, bon hombre. In French, he was an bon. In Greek, of course, he was a kalosantopos. And in Italian, he was a bravo ragazzo. But any way you say it, Tony Lamendola was a good man. I've chosen a poem James Whitcomb Riley called A Good Man. A good man never dies in worthy deed and prayer, and helpful hands and honest eyes, if smiles or tears be there, who lives for you and me, lives for the world he tries to help. He lives eternally. A good man never dies, who lives to bravely take his share of toil and stress, and for his weaker fellow's sake makes every burden less. He may at last seem worn, lie fallen, hands and eyes folded. Yet though we mourn and mourn, a good man never dies. I think this sums up the life of Tony Lamendola. He was a funny, kind, and lovable soul who left us way too soon. I know we all have such wonderful memories of the man who just tried to be a good friend, a good son, a good father, and a good husband, even throughout his foibles and troubles. Tony was a talented guy who brought life and enthusiasm to every character he played on the stage at Trotwood, from Moonface Martin, second-rate gangster labeled Public Enemy number 13 in Anything Goes, to Marcus Lycus, a buyer and seller of flesh, which he loved, and a funny thing happened on the way to the forum. Tony, it was not the depth of your life. I'm sorry, Tony, it was not the length of your life, but it was the depth of your life. We know you're happily reunited with all those crazy family members, and I'm pretty certain you've had to struggle to get in a word edgewise, along with Bob, Michelle, Debbie, and all of the other Rilings and Lamendolas. Don't worry about us. Your family will continue on. Your children have the morals and values you instilled in them, and you gave your friends hilarious memories that we can treasure forever. We will be fine here, but we look forward to that day when you can all be together again to debate. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. We were lucky to have you as a friend.
So now we're going to move on to what we're calling our improvisation memories. I guess since I'm up here, I will start. As I shared when we began, I met Tony when we were in Theta Team, still the best team, at Trotwood Madison Junior High. We were broken into teams, as you can tell. And Tony and I were instant friends. And he would often remind me that before Thanksgiving in 7th grade, I didn't have a lot of Italian friends. And I asked him, does your family eat spaghetti for Thanksgiving? And Tony, every time he saw me, until the last time I saw him this fall, he reminded me of that story. Tony had a great memory for stories and sharing those with us. He and I were fierce debaters. We had totally different political views, but we always walked away friends, even though he could make me so mad in his beliefs and I made him so mad in my beliefs. I'll also always treasure the memory of when we were seniors, and some of you were there, when Tony and I and a couple others decided it was a good idea after a night of probably shouldn't have been drinking. Kids, don't listen to that. We decided it was a good idea to go streaking through a neighborhood. Proud moment.
You never told me you were drunk.
Okay, that's my son. And we all decided then, too, it might be a good idea to wear each other's clothes. So the girls had on the boys' clothes and the boys' clothes into the girls' clothes. And we just had a great time. And then Tony came to visit me in college, and I came to visit him in college. We were in each other's weddings, and it's one of those friendships that will hold a place in my heart for the rest of my life. I can't remember, it might have been Annette Rezick Butler, but we all fondly called Tony Lemonhead. And that's how I'll remember my friend lovingly, as Lemonhead up in heaven watching all over us. It stopped raining now, but when we leave, I brought everybody a box of lemon heads to take home, and I left him a box for he and Michelle to share. So I love you, Lemonhead. I'll miss you forever. But the memories that we had together will last my lifetime. And I'll always be here if your kids ever need anything. Now we have Becky Potts. Becky Cahill Potts Butler Kinsey. because Tony would have liked that too.
Yeah, Tony would have been all over that. That's for sure. So hi, I'm Becky. I knew and met Tony again in the best team ever, Theta. And you put a fiery Italian and a fiery Irish woman together, and you are definitely going to have debate. So a couple of quick, funny stories. So Tony, again, Mick, when you said Tony's competitive, there is no doubt about that. So we were both in theater together, and we may or may not have gone out to lunch occasionally for theater, and we may or may not have maybe paid each other for lunches occasionally. You know, one would buy, one would not buy. And Tony, for those of you, who know and love Tony, know that he liked to pinch a penny, that Tony Lamendola.
A thrifty boy.
He was a thrifty boy, that Tony Lamendola. So Tony and I got into a little bit of a debate and argument about coupons one day, lunch coupons. I believe it was your Taco Bell coupon that we got in debate about. Or was it Sonny's coupon? Sonny's coupon. And who had the coupon, and could he use the coupon? And I had the coupon. I didn't want to give up the coupon. We got into a gigantic fight. And this fight lasted to the point that Mickey, this was half hour easily, yelling and screaming in the high school hallway, fiery Irish, fiery Italian. Mick had to come out and break us up, but we weren't done. So we went up to the third floor.
Yeah, that's right. That's when you went up the steps.
Went up the steps, had that same fight. And so we will always remember Tony and the coupons. And to this day, whenever I saw Tony, the last time I saw him, we shared a good laugh about the coupon story. This is what's true about Tony, is again, the fiery passion I love, and we don't have enough of that in this world today. And so we should all take heed from Tony and the way he lived his life, the passion to his core, his love of life, his love of his friends. And we got over our coupon debate for sure, and we hugged it out and we loved it out. And he is and will always be one of the single most loving, passionate people I have ever known. I will miss him dearly, but Tony, your love, your passion, your great hugs, your fantastic, infectious laugh will run through us for the rest of our lives. We love you dearly.
I got that story.
Okay. So one time during the rehearsal of How the Other Half Loves,
Yes.
which was the show that went on forever, didn't we do like 8 months of rehearsal for some unknown reason? I can't remember what it was, but anyway, Tony was in it, Trace was in it, Becky was in it, Mike was in it, Lori was in it, everybody was there. Okay, so I'm in the back of the little theater, probably smoking a cigarette, and I'm watching rehearsal, and Tony, was a very physical guy, and I don't know how it happened. Okay, Becky, tell me, how did it happen? Come on up. Okay, because I just remember I can see him there.
We were married in this play.
Okay.
Tony and I were
Okay,
married.
you were married. Okay.
And he came at me
Oh, that's
in the
right.
fight scene. And I went like this. Rest of story.
Here's the story.
That wasn't for him.
No, it was How the Other Half
Yes,
Loves.
okay.
Yeah, it was How the Other Half Loves. And he grabs Becky the wrong way. And all of a sudden I hear, my thumb! And I'm in the back of the theater, and his thumb, most thumbs look like this. His did not. I don't know what. My thumb! He freaks out. He's running around the theater. We finally get him calmed down. I call his parents. His parents said, this is my favorite part. They went, well, we're on our way to dinner, Tina. Can you take him to the doctor? Sure. So I load Tony up and I take him over to on Belmont Park, there was a doctor there, a sports medicine doctor, who had to yank it back in. And then I think for weeks he had a huge thumb, but oh my God, that never. My thumb! I mean, you've never seen acting like that in your life with the dislocated thumb in the little theater. It's such a wonderful story about Tony. I mean, there's so many. Don't forget the time when we would meet every Thanksgiving at Marion's Pizza. And one time you and Tony had the butt contest to see which butt was smaller. I believe Lori judged that contest.
I did.
Yes. See, so there's just so many memories, but really the thumb stands out to me.
Well, I was thinking about all the times that I was with Tony growing up, and I was thinking about the time that, Tony and I played baseball together at Trotwood Boys Baseball Club back in the late 70s, early 80s. We played Little League Baseball, and that's really when I first met Tony. And from that time on, our paths crossed many, many years. And I remember that vividly, playing baseball, catching, and having a great time. And then moving forward into, Tony was a year younger than me. I'm 53. He was 52 when he passed. But was always a year younger. But I was always able to kind of watch Tony and many of you here today, childhood friends, for a long time. Playing soccer at Trotwood was always fun, and Tony played soccer, as did I, and always enjoyed playing soccer against all the local rivalries and so forth. But one thing that I noticed about Tony was that he was always dedicated. Whether it was in his academics, he was very committed to doing his best, and I've heard that this morning, as well as on the soccer field or on the baseball field. He always was trying his best and very, very competitive. And then as we fast forward, looking at Tony in terms of going to Miami University, serving our military, I always admired Tony's dedication, regardless of what it was. Like I said, it was sports and serving our country. And I was a year ahead, like I said, but I always admired his dedication and helping to pay through school and getting a great education at Miami, and then professionally launching his career. But I think one of the things that up to this point, Tony's looking down from heaven, and I think all of us think about, did we make a difference? And I think he made a difference. I think he was an incredible role model, and I admire his dedication to his family, throughout the time that I've known him, and I will really miss Tony, like all of you. And Michael, you indicated, if his children or any family need anything, that they have an extended family. And I just want to underscore that, all of you watching, that you have support here, up here in the Dayton community, or wherever we are. Thank you.
Hello. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Lori Babel Rediger. I have composed some thoughts. Some will be anecdotal and some I will read. This has been very difficult, as it has been for everyone, but for me included. Tony and I met in kindergarten. God blessed me with Tony and also with Becky, two lifelong friends that I met in kindergarten. And Tony was, as you know, an adorable, rambunctious Italian boy. And I was a little smarty pants Greek girl. And we hit it off. I'm blessed to say that over all the years since, that our friendship has continued to grow stronger and deeper over all these years. We've shared a lot of heartaches and challenges and joys throughout our lives, and that will really be missed. When I think of Tony, so many memories flood in my mind. I could be up here probably for 30 minutes and not even touch on the surface of most. As Mike already mentioned, the famous last day of senior year in high school when we all got together. That's right. And my parents trusted me to leave me and about 30 kids in the house alone all night. And probably wasn't the wisest of ideas. I behaved, generally speaking. Some others didn't. However, I was part of the crew that streaked down my street, Pierpont, in Trotwood. I was totally sober, but we did streak. And we had so much fun. I can still see Tony standing in my neighbor's yard butt naked. And then when we decided to exchange clothes, he and I were the ones that exchanged clothes, and he could not get my pants on. And it was hilarious. So I can still see that. I think about, all the fun times, senior skip day, prom, everything that we went through together with all of our Trotwood gang and friends. And there's so many joyous memories that we had. Tony was known for his gifts of friendship, kindness, and compassion. He was also known for pinching a penny so damn hard that Lincoln would squeal. I had no car in high school. May I have my umbrella, please? Thank you. I had no car in high school, so I relied on our Trotwood gang to help transport me around. And don't you know, every single time I went anywhere with Tony, there was a gas fee.
There was.
I can still remember sitting in my driveway in Tony's little old yellow box of a car. That Reliant K, you know what I'm talking about. That Reliant K. That K car. And we would be sitting there in my driveway anytime he took me anywhere, day or night, and he would stop and he would calculate up the 3 dang miles we had gone on the speedometer. And I had to reluctantly pay my Italian cabbie. So, I remember the first time I looked at him, I'm like, what? It was late at night. He turned on like some sort of a light, a flashlight or something in the car and added up the few miles we'd gone. And I literally had to pay the man gas fee. So in honor of Tony, I have brought everybody a $1 certificate towards gas. Now, again, that's only going to be one per family that's represented here. Because, again, we want to save money and be cost effective, and I think Tony would be proud of that. I think he would be very pleased. Tony will be remembered for so many things, so many things. We've had, in my own heart and mind, talks and conversations. Tony did have some difficulties, as we all may know, in his life. But Tony lived truly the proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8. In my heart, I know that he's standing with God now, and he will never fall again. He will be remembered for many things. His classic nicknames, Tony Baloney, Lemonhead, Big Nose, his love of cannoli, especially cannoli that his sister Debbie had not previously snuck in to and eaten all the filling out of. So he would be really honked every time that happened. Yes. He loved all things Italian, never learning to use his inside voice, his boisterous, heartwarming laugh, his Catholic faith, his pleasure in hotly debating every religious and political issue that there exists. And then obviously, of course, his complete and utter devotion to his friends and to his family. Most of all, to his beloved children, whom he truly, truly cherished. Knowing now that forever Tony will be surrounded by God's love, light, and peace, and that he is reunited with Bob, Debbie, and Michelle, and that heaven has never been more joyous or full of laughter, brings me some level of comfort. Most of all, I will remember Tony as a gentle soul who crossed over the threshold of my heart so many, many years ago, and who will always reside there within. God bless you, my dear friend Tony. Until we meet again, I love you.
So before we do, we're going to have a blessing. Lori's going to come back up in a minute and do a blessing. I did think of two more things that I wanted to share. So when Tony and I would talk about philosophical things in high school, like you do in college and all those things, Tony had informed me that I would go to heaven, which I thought was nice. Trying to lead a good life, but he informed me that we probably wouldn't be together in heaven. And I said, well, why? I hope to see all my family and friends and people I love. He said, well, Catholics go to the better heaven. He said, you'll be on the other side of a wall with the other Protestants in heaven, but the Catholics will be in the good heaven. And I've always remembered that. So Tony, I hope there's no wall in heaven and that we get to
Tear down that wall.
Tear down that wall, Tony. Get that wall torn down before then. And Tony forever razzed me about the size of my rear. And as you said, we'd had competitions, but he always, when he would see me, no matter how long we had been apart, would greet me with, "It's good to see you, fat ass." As only Tony could do. It didn't matter how hard I'd worked at losing weight. Tony would get me that one. So again, I think we will all miss Tony. We'll always forever love Tony. His humor, his laughter. I said I wanted this to also be about comedy because I think he had great comedy. He had great timing in life. He was always funny. And no matter how hard a time Tony was having, he wanted to try and make you feel better. Even when he was at his darkest time and he would call me, he would try and get me to smile or laugh, or when he'd see me to make a joke. And I think that's the essence and the spirit of Tony that I want to carry with me all the rest of my days. We all go through times that are difficult, but it's those times, like Lori said, when we come above it. And Tony did that more than once. And that's what he should be remembered for. The good man that he was, the great father that he is, and will continue to be, looking over them. So with that, I'd like Lori to come back up and give us a blessing, and then we'll have a solo after that.
Okay, I feel pretty honored to share in this blessing for Tony. Tony, as we all know, was a devout Catholic. I'm an Orthodox Christian, and so we did share some similarities. I like to think that I'll be in the same part of heaven as Tony. That's all I'm saying. Just teasing, obviously, just teasing. But I did have to compose my thoughts for this, so I will be reading them. And bear with me. I will try to make it through without a lot of tears. So we could all pray. Holy God, today we remember Tony, cherished son, beloved brother, devoted father, and truest friend. We give thanks for the blessing of having shared in his life. His loss seems incomprehensible, and we ask now for your intercessions. Hold his children and family, especially close in your arms, sheltering them with compassion and reassurance. Illuminate the darkness left in our lives with countless joyous memories held tenderly within us each. Lord, lift up our hearts in this time of sorrow, finding comfort in the knowledge that he is eternally in your care, free from all pain, sickness, and suffering. Help us to honor Tony's beautiful memory in the gentle, quiet ways we spend our lives from this day forward, allowing our love for him and all others to guide our actions. Through your divine grace and power, provide us with peace that surpasses all measure, and adorn his soul with your merciful love in everlasting life. May his memory be eternal. God bless you, Tony. Glory to the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I'm going to introduce you. So, to end our ceremony, I've asked a good friend of mine who I've been involved in theater with for many years, Adie McFarland, to come up and sing a song to end the service from Wicked.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now, whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Beautiful.
So we added one more thing for the folks that are here that's not in our little program. And so I ask you at home to grab something to toast Tony. And we're going to do a toast. And I think Becky, oh no, don't aim that at me.
I didn't know this was going to be on air.
Yeah. There.
To Tony Lamendola, faithful friend, passionate Italian. He is all love, life. We will cherish him forever. He is our friend. We are family. To Tony.
To Tony.
Tony.
So people, and as you give them out, you're a wife.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Eddie's got that one too.
Yeah. After saying sure.
Yeah, you have Lauren.
I like these. It is. A little bit. Let's see, I'll be just. Oh hell, we're gonna make these big.
No, Eric has to have one too. We have everybody.
You got everybody? It's a privilege.
All right, Mike, do it.
One more time to the life, love, and comedy of Tony Lamendola. May his memory be eternal.